All right, so we went to Israel with Solutionaries International, that is Diane and Scott Ritchie, for their very first Ignition mission. And we didn't go on a tour, we weren't tourists, we were on a missionary journey. And I'm so grateful for Diane and Scott for the freedom they have to follow the Lord. We weren't flying by the seat of our pants, there was a plan, but the plan was serving us, not the other way around. So we were able to pivot when necessary. Hence the reason for the phrases, you can't get that on a tour, or wow, wow, wow. And Tammy's famous line, I didn't come to Israel to sleep. So as you watch this presentation, keep in mind that Solutionaries International is planning more missionary journeys in the future. And we were honored to be a part of the very first of many teams in the future. So who knows? Get your passport ready. Keep the door open for the possibility if the Lord should call you to go. How many people want to go to Israel? Wow. And that's why you're here, right? So you can get a little taste of it. And some of you, how many people have been to Israel already? And you want to go again? So everybody who goes to Israel wants to go again. Pretty much. Right?
Yeah, I do.
All right, so we're going to see the index cards and the pens on the tables. Those are for you to write down questions, because we're going to hold the questions until the end. And so if you hear something and you have a question about it, we're going to have a question and answer time at the end. So write down your question so you don't forget about it. You don't have to think about it the whole time. I know how that goes. So we left on Sunday, April 24th, and arrived in Israel on the 25th at midnight. Israel is 8 hours ahead of us here in the UP. And we arrived back in Ironwood, Michigan on May 3rd. And this is our story. All right, so, yeah, you can go ahead and push. We haven't rehearsed this or anything. We're just going to go with the flow here. Yeah, you can just keep going. We've kind of gone through the intro. Okay, yeah, so we, after going to Cornerstone and being prayed for in the service, Tammy and I left for the Ironwood Airport. We arrived in Chicago for, yeah, we got some pictures here for the airport. This is our jet from Ironwood. Yeah, very nice, too. They give you, like, drinks and, like 7-Up or whatever, and cans, Coca-Cola, and some food. All right, so we're in Chicago there, and we just decided we'd take a picture with the doctor. Okay, those are my peoples. So I just want to tell you who they are. From the bottom up, that would be my mother in the bottom. There's Judy. She's right here too. And there's Sherry next. And then there's Susan. She lives in Florida. She's one of my really good friends. And there's Lisa. And she's here also in person. And then there's Gail. She's super happy. And little D. Her name is Debbie. And you all know Debbie, right? And then there's Jim Bale there, below Debbie. And then that's my husband. And he doesn't have bullet holes in his head. These are bubbles. And this is a long time ago. We did a thing called Effervescent Kurt. And so when you went over a certain spot on the website, he would pop up and just like bubbles. Effervescent means bubbles. He's kind of gassy, whatever. So anyway, so that's my husband there. And so we take these peoples. I'm going to call them my peoples. We take them everywhere and try to put them places. But because some of these people wanted to go to Israel. Like everyone on there wanted to go, right? Yeah. Judy, Lisa, my mom really wanted to go. Gail was hip on it. She was, and then there's the other people. So we arrived. We had a 6-hour layover in Chicago, and which was great because I had my guitar and we played some songs right at the airport. That's my mom in the airplane. There we are playing in the airport. And so there were lots of Muslims and stuff doing prayers, and it was distracting because like I hadn't seen that before, and there was a lot of them there, and they would just kneel anywhere and just do their thing. So we were distracted, and we had waited so long that we almost missed our plane out of Chicago. That would have been so embarrassing. But I have actually a writing that I'm going to do. I haven't done it yet. It's going to be called Holy Layover, which talks about how we're on a layover here on Earth, okay? And we just I need to remember that we're destined for somewhere else. We are in, we're in holding, but yeah. So anyway, so we boarded the plane for an 11-hour flight to Amman, Jordan. You see that? That's halfway across the world. The name of our trip is Israel Shalom Journey. And wouldn't you know it, the guy in our aisle seat was named Shalom. Or Shalom, as he said. He kind of looks like Mark from the side. Look at that. That could have been you, Mark, with your yarmulke. So of all things, his name was Shalom. We thought that was the coolest thing until Shalom got hangry and wasn't very shalomy. Him being on the aisle seat made it a little bit difficult for us because we didn't want to bother him to get up, and it was not cool to sit in our seats for 11 hours. But we did. Because we are, hello, greetings. Because Tammy and we found out that we are like sisters from another mister. Totally the same in a lot of ways. So we don't want to bother people, organized, whatever. So that was interesting. And it wasn't fun. And there were a lot of kids, a lot of babies, a lot of families. And the babies were crying, and every now and then they would like you would be drifting off, and they'd be like, "What?" It was so loud. It was so loud. And so anyways, I didn't get much sleep. Tammy seemed to be able to sleep through it, though. She's like Jesus on the boat in the storm, Nothing bothers me, man. So we didn't want to bother the guy. We sat there. Okay, so we landed in Amman. Oh, that was a sunrise because I was up. So the sunrise above the clouds, it was really cool. We landed in Amman and then spent 8 hours layover for an hour and 15-minute flight to Tel Aviv.
Wow. 8 hours.
We were okay with that, until they wouldn't give me my guitar. And then, so we're 8 hours without a guitar. And that was a bummer, but that's okay. So these tickets were super cheap. Our advice, if you're going on a trip to Israel, pay more for your ticket. And you'll have more time in Israel instead of airports. We were fine with it, though, like I said, because we thought we could play and witness to people, but not in Amman. So they kept my guitar for the next flight, and the airport was mostly deserted. It was weird. Amman, Jordan was very weird, that airport. So we're flying over. This is during our flight. Yeah, so we got, I think, maybe another one. Yeah, there's the airport. We didn't just stare at that for 8 hours, but almost. Okay, so here's where, this is also because of the COVID thing. As soon as we landed in Israel after going through customs and picking up our baggage, which was a trip in itself. Everybody and their brother and sister flies in on an international flight at the same time. So there were tons of people at midnight in this airport. And so I was really worried about the guitar. I didn't know if it was going to make it, through all these places, but it did. And so I didn't have to worry because God is awesome. I don't have to worry because He's too worthy. He's very worthy. So we were, because of the COVID thing, we had to get a COVID test, which we paid for before we left. And so that's what this building is right here. Tons of people coming in from all over the world, and everyone had to get a test in order to be in the country. So by about 1 o'clock in the morning, we were in Israel. There's Tammy. Not happy campers. The test. So we snapped this picture with Diane and Scott, and we were in a taxi heading for Tel Aviv. So the airport is not actually in Tel Aviv. It's about 30-minute ride to Tel Aviv. And so there we were in front of the giant menorah. I guess everybody gets their picture taken there when they land. Yeah. It's the place to go. So April 26th was a Tuesday, and Diane and Scott have an apartment that they're renting for the months that they're in Israel. And everything as far as stores and the beach is within walking distance. So that is the Mediterranean Sea that you see. You can just flick, I think more. This is the city. Tel Aviv. Very cool.
See how narrow the streets are? Wow.
Yeah, there's it's so much bustling. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, and when they drive, they beep. They don't use their brakes. They don't use their blinkers. They just beep. Like, get out of my way. I mean, it's like constant beeping.
It's distressing at first, but then you get used to it, like everything else. So taking into account the possible jet lag, Diane and Scott, our first full day in Israel was set aside to rest and to chill at the Mediterranean. So I think we can flip a little more. This is the prayer tower we went to. Let's see. Yeah, so I also said it's beautiful in Tel Aviv and also very small. There are taxis and cars, a lot of beeping, much more in Jerusalem actually, outside of the old system, but very busy, busy, busy. Everyone is exercising in Tel Aviv. It's really weird. I didn't get any pictures of people exercising. That would have been weird to be like, oh, American, take a picture of us exercising. But they're just like, they're riding bikes, they're running, they're jogging, they're playing games, they're doing some kind of volleyball with their feet. It was weird. I don't know what that was called, but but everybody, I'm not even joking. Like you go to the beach and there's like people moving, activity everywhere. So they call Tel Aviv the city that never sleeps, and there's constant movement. I liked it a lot. I did. I thought it was cool because nobody cares about you. They're just they don't care what you're wearing
And there's a lot of dogs.
And a lot of dogs, and that's also, we're going to talk about that too. Yep, so later that afternoon we went to the prayer tower. There's my mom looking out over the city of Tel Aviv from the tower. I sent her those pictures and she's like, just shake her head. But then she sent them to everybody else because, that's greetings. Because that's cool, because who gets to go, like not really there. So anyway, you can flip it again. I think my mom was there's the city of Tel Aviv from the prayer tower. And there's my mom again in front of the shofar. So she's saying shofar so good. Yep. Okay. And then we went to, we prayed with some folks there at the prayer tower. And then we had a wonderful dinner at one of the beach restaurants, which is where we're at there. Yep. So that's a sampler plate, which we all shared. And it was really good because there's salmon on there. There's, check this out. You ready? Denise fish. It's called Denise fish. It's underneath all of that, but I had it later in Jaffa, and so I'll show you what that looks like. It doesn't look like a D, but sort of. It kind of looks like. See, there's Denise fish. Look, it's for real. We also found a tam fish, which I don't have up there, but it's like a red snapper, right? So there's a tam fish as well, but Denise fish everywhere.
I was feeling left out, so she researched it.
So I also brought some. Yeah, this is my mom again. Okay, so she's going to be in this a lot. This is stick people in the Mediterranean beach there. So
the sand was like powdered sugar, just so you know. That's what you were standing in.
This way you're saying. So we're posing with them. See them? It's beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. The weather is awesome. It's a sunset there. Okay. And so, so through the journey, we put these little people in various places, as you saw on the plane. And the peoples are what we'll call them from now on. So Wednesday, April 27th, after spending some quiet time at the Mediterranean, we took off for our journey to Jerusalem. Keep on going. There's a couple of signs here. Just say Jerusalem. It's pretty cool. It's in Hebrew and Arabic, all the signs. So the first one is Hebrew, the second one is Arabic.
Yeah.
Hebrew, English, Arabic. So our first stop was St. Andrew's Guest House, where we would stay a while in Jerusalem, while we were in Jerusalem, that is. And so cats and flowers and strong Americano coffee is a lot of the deal. Really good thing. So we started at the Mount of Olives, and here we're worshiping. Here we go. Diane she just doesn't care. She just doesn't care about what people think, and it's really a good lesson. I didn't see her doing that, but she does this everywhere. You'll see. So and it's just like she's not ashamed of Jesus, and that's how we all ought to be. So we worshipped on the Mount of Olives, and from there we went to a juice stand for something to drink, and that's where we met a man named Abe. So he's to the right there. And he has 11 children and 29 grandchildren. I felt like we needed to sing the song to him. That seemed to be our theme song, the blessing. So I just get out my guitar and just start singing. And so that's what we did. And there was also a Christian family from Brazil who was listening as well. That's a very bad picture because I had to steal it off his Facebook. But so that's James and his wife, and they have I think one child, 2 children, and so Abe invited us to his house for dinner that night, and we would call him later to find out whether we could go or not. After that, we walked to the Garden of Gethsemane, where we stopped and sang in the garden. So one more. We also studied in some places that, again, yep. This is the garden, and they got a gate around it, a fence. You can't get in there, so which is probably fine because people would probably trash it, which wouldn't be good. So that's playing in front of the garden, the gate in front of the garden. I'm playing in the garden, the hymn in the garden, and so this is what Tammy wrote. This is what she felt there. I felt a heaviness. You can click on the next thing. I felt a heaviness on my heart as we looked at the images in the church that depicted his suffering and walked down the Via Dolorosa. And so that's what that picture is. Go back. There you go. You want to say anything about that?
Well, yeah, we were in the courts where he actually was beat and whipped, and that's when it really, really hit you. And so after we were in the courts, then we went into this church, and it just, you look at that picture differently after actually being where it happened. And, it was just different. It was different for me after being in the place where it happened.
Here's one of the stick people.
Yeah.
You went to Israel with us, so I'm just saying. Jim, a.k.a. Stick Man. Stick guy. All right, so also, side note, a lot of homeless cats in Jerusalem. Keep going. We got like about 5 of those. So everywhere I look, there's a cat, and I'm like, let me get a picture of the cat.
She's making a calendar, Kitties of Jerusalem.
They weren't happy either. I don't think. So I didn't see that coming, to be so many cats. But since we were in Jerusalem, we visited some of the places where Jesus did miracles. Of course, why would we go to Jerusalem and not visit these places? One place was the Pool of Bethesda, where Jesus healed a paralytic, paralyzed for 38 years. There's no water in it, obviously, anymore. But so we read the scripture that told the story, and just thank God for the honor to experience this place where this miracle happened. There's a lot of tours and stuff and people going around. We decided at that point to indeed say yes to Abe's invitation to dinner later that night. And that meant that we had to move along because we were only going to be in Jerusalem for 2 days. It was 2 days, right?
Yeah, 2 days, 1 night, 2 days.
1 night, 2 days. And so we had a lot of stuff to cover. And so we walked through the old city and up on the Via Dolorosa because the Via Dolorosa was, in the middle of the city. You had to go through the middle of the city and uphill to get to the place where they crucified him. And so we walked through the old city and upon the Via Dolorosa. It was a long uphill road to the place of the skull, which is where, back one more. Yeah, so that's actually the place, they say. Did you want to say something? You look like you want to say something. Okay. And so you can see. So the lady in the next thing, she was a tour guide, just a really fast tour. She said the nose has since broken off of the front of that mountain, that hill, that thing. So it's hard to tell. So we're looking at. Can anyone see the face of the skull or anything that looks like a skull on that? You can.
There's a placemat.
There's a placemat right over here.
Yep.
See it a little better.
Yep. So on your table there are some things to look at if you want to, and
It broke off.
yeah. So the nose part broke off, and here she's showing a picture of what it used to look like, but you can't really see. It's very small, and so the next stop was the empty tomb and the garden. So we did a Facebook Live inside the tomb, which was amazing. And then we went to the garden area and worshiped Jesus. So this is, obviously we're standing up. This is I think you got this picture, didn't you? I like that one because I'm coming out of the tomb.
Right.
I ran out of that grave. Absolutely. So we worshipped and this is what Tammy wrote about this experience. So Diane read from the scriptures. Denise played graves into gardens. And here I am to worship. Absolutely the most moving worship I'd ever taken part in. The family from Brazil timed it to be there at the same time as we were to worship with us, which they did. Everyone was crying. James's wife was singing in Portuguese. Just love the Lord, and to be there to worship where he was buried and rose again was unlike anything I have or will experience again. Just amazing. I would only take issue with one of those lines, which says, this was unlike anything I have or will experience again. I think, Tammy, there's a lot more coming up. But yeah, so far, to this date, yeah. So there are, it was surreal. There's one more picture, I think, of that. And, they kind of shoot us away from the front of the tomb. We wanted to do this in front of the tomb. But there were people, and the lady was in charge. She's like, we don't make sure that people can come here and just not be, harassed by worship or whatever. It's not what she said. But it was, it would have been maybe uncomfortable or something. So we were shooed out into the garden, and at the end of it, though, she's like, "Wow, just call me, tell me when you're going to do this again, and we'll make a spot for you." So it was different after she was worshiping too, and her husband came along, and it was a trip to be in front of the place where Jesus rose from the dead. And so there were a lot of holidays. There are a lot of holidays that the Arabs and Jews celebrate in Jerusalem, because it's a holy place to both Jews and Arabs or Muslims. And so we happen to be there during Ramadan. That's a month-long celebration for them, it's not a celebration, I guess. They celebrate after, but they fast all day, and then they just eat all night. That's kind of weird, but so this is like, the place was packed full of people. That night would have been a very like a high holy day for them. So there were thousands of people crammed into a very small space, as you can see from this picture. Okay, and this is back at the St. Andrew's Guest House. We were getting ready for dinner with Abe. This was later, but Tammy got this shot. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, it is.
So some of these pictures aren't very good, but that's at least we captured them a little bit. Tammy wasn't feeling well, and neither was I for different reasons, but I went with Diane and Scott, and Abe picked us up. So he picked us up because nobody has a car there. Like when we had cars, it was because Scott would rent one, but we didn't rent one all the time. So they picked us up, or Abe did, and brought us to his house in the Kidron Valley, which made us respond with, "You can't get that on a tour," and wow, because you just can't get that on a tour. People aren't going. This is not someone's house. You don't go on a tour to someone's house. And the Kidron Valley was not a place on a tour. So they had a huge spread, as you can barely see, and we spent an awesome evening with them. I think about 3 hours. And then actually one of the sons had a painful toothache, and I just want to tell you this, just to build your faith. So Diane prayed for him, and he got healed, like on the spot. Like it was just a few minutes later when we asked him, "How's your," he could barely talk, and his name was, I think it was Moses, or was. There's a guy named Was. I mean, there wasn't another. The other brother wasn't like he is. Anyways, his name was. It's not weird. Anyway, and his toothache was completely healed, and he was amazed. I'm not even sure if these people. I didn't even know if they were Jewish at first. Pretty sure they were, but I don't know that they knew the Lord, or it was hard to tell, really. But we had dinner with them, and God answered a prayer for me too, because I'm not like what you call cultured. When my food, like eating, I can't eat something I don't know what it is. It's very hard. But I know that if I'm going to a place for dinner, I will eat what's put before me. If I don't, then I'm a horrible person. So the Bible tells us what to do there. So I prayed, and before we left, and I wasn't even that hungry. And you know how it is when you go to someone's house, they're gonna like pile up your plate, and then you're like, oh, I literally can't fit any more in my belly. But so it was cool because we got our own food. It was a huge spread, and it was just normal stuff. It was like chicken and rice. But there was one thing that I ate that I didn't know what it was until after I ate it. Good thing.
What was it?
It was lamb. I just don't do lamb. Well, I mean, it wasn't that bad. I mean, the first time I ever had, like, venison it was boiled. And I just, how that can kind of put you off from it forever. So anyway, so that was just an answer to prayer, something that only God knew, and I was asking him to help me with them. And so played a couple of songs there as well, brought my guitar with me. And then, it looks like there's only one guy, but they were listening in other areas, I think. But, and so, let's see. So got to play a couple songs. God was glorified. Afterwards, we all got a piece of jewelry. Even Tammy, she got. And you want to tell the story about that? Because she wasn't there, okay? She wasn't there.
It's part of my podcast.
Oh, it is, okay. So she'll tell you about the story about that later. But it's pretty cool thing. So let's see what else here. So I got this. Yeah, got the not a good picture, but and so even though Tammy wasn't there, she got a perfect gift, and she'll tell you about that later. April 28th was Thursday, and here's where I spent my quiet time, overlooking the old city of Jerusalem. Here's a kitty and the flowers. There you go. Look at that.
Those are perfect. Yeah.
Good times. People's in the flowers. Enjoying their time in Jerusalem at the guest house, overlooking Jerusalem with me.
So the St. Andrew's guest house was actually their friends of Scott and Diane that own it. They knew him from previous years, so they were very gracious, very, very welcoming. And they had a beautiful place, as you could see. I mean, it was landscaped like to the hilt.
Okay, and then we went to the Knesset. Anybody know what the Knesset is?
Parliament building, what's their general?
So it's the governing body of Israel, like a capital or something. So they weren't giving tours that day. We went to do a tour of the Knesset, but because they were honoring Holocaust survivors and their families that day, that very day.
Personal invitation only. For them.
Yep. So, and we prayed for them from across the street. This giant menorah. There's a park in this place, and it's right across the street from the Knesset. A lot of security there across the street, and so the people with guns, like serious guns. So we'll get back up a little bit. We prayed, and made declarations of peace and wisdom, and for many to come to a knowledge of Jesus as the Messiah, because we know that I don't care who it is or where you are, to know Jesus is to know life, and once we know Him, smooth sailing from there. Not in the sense of like circumstances, trials are going to come, but when we know Him, when we know our Creator, when we're reconciled with Him, it's just, there's nothing like it. I would never, anyone regret their walk with Jesus? No, because He's awesome, isn't He?
Yes.
All right, from there we went back to the old city and met with a Christian who has a ministry in the area. We'll call her Meg, because she, we don't take any pictures of her, and she didn't want her name out there, because obviously it's not, everybody doesn't like you to be preaching the gospel there. So we bought a ticket and walked along the ramparts. This is our ticket for the ramparts. I think it's on one of the tables, I think, the ticket. But anyways, if you want to look at it. And we prayed for peace and many other things. So there's a prayer walk on the ramparts. So there's the wall surrounding the old city. And these walls are ancient, and they've seen much war and many battles. And we walked along and prayed until we came to the Damascus Gate. And it was a long walk, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a long walk, and we only went like 1/4 of the way around.
Yeah. Barbed wire. I'm not sure why that was there. So the Damascus Gate. We weren't able to go much further, and because we were already in the Muslim quarter, and it was getting late, and you can't go past that, much past that, because then you'd be toward the mosque, and they don't allow you to do that, as far as I know. So we stopped and sang, "Is He Worthy?" right here above the Damascus Gate. Yes, He is worthy.
Yes.
He is so worthy. Go ahead, one more. It's the same place. So also, we sang another song, but we were being rushed to get out of there, because if we didn't leave then through the Damascus Gate, we would have to go all the way back to the beginning. And it was a long way. So Meg said to her knowledge that no one had ever worshipped Jesus over the Damascus Gate before. And I was a little worried about what, I could do about, like how loud can you sing Jesus' name, and I didn't really have a reason to worry. I never worried about it after I got there. So it was needless to even think about it, because Jesus' name, that's where the power is. And so, so I think we weren't just singing songs. I think we did some spiritual warfare that day. We went through the market where Tammy bought a purse made of camel's hide, to which I say, "Aw." It's behind you. Yeah, if you could just, right, I think, behind you, actually. Hanging there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you want to just,
Also, friends of Scott and Diane staying on, they had other products from them, but yeah, I guess that's hide, right?
Is it full? Can you pass it around? Can you show it to,
It's got stuff in it, but
can you show the, yes, no one's going to steal anything, right? Let's just go through Tammy's purse. Find out what's in there. Yep, just pass it around. It's a camel hide. So, yeah, it's not a cow.
It's really thick leather, yeah, it looks like it.
Yep. So that was interesting. And as we were leaving the old city of Jerusalem, there was a blind man going in. He had a cane and dark glasses. And Diane passed him at first, but then came back, and she prayed for him after asking if he wanted to see. Like Jesus. And as she prayed, I agreed in Jesus' name. I had my eyes closed, but I heard in my right ear the voice of a woman agreeing with the prayer in Jesus' name. And she turned out to be a sister in Christ, a Messianic Jewish person. And she and a team of Jesus believers weekly ministered in the old city. And she kept saying that salvation is what really matters. Miracles are great, but the gospel is the main point. Right? And I totally agree with that. We all agree with that. Did the blind man get healed? Well, after she prayed, he said he could see much clearer. So apparently he wasn't completely blind, but his words were, "It's remarkable." His words. She prayed again, but no change. Sometimes I see men as trees or whatever, and Jesus did it again, put the mud on his eyes, but there's no change at that time. But I believe that guy sees perfectly today. I do. I just believe that. I think that he went away, and it was a gradual thing, and he woke up the next morning maybe, and he could see. And he no longer walks with a cane or has dark glasses. That's what I think. So here's a picture of Abigail. She's the Christian. So, yeah, she's like, yeah, only salvation matters. Did you tell him the gospel? She says. And so I'm friends with her on Facebook now, so that's pretty cool. And so she's also got a group that's private, and they talk about some of the things. Go back to the. All right, so at the end of the day, we met with Meg and her husband for dinner, and heard some very interesting facts about how the Knesset is the exact same ratio as the temple of God. So it right there is a map, a placemat with the temple. And as you can see, the building is small, and then there's a big, long, yep, and that's what that Knesset was patterned off of the temple. It's pretty cool, huh? Like, I don't know if that's common knowledge or not, but...
And it's owned by the Greeks over there, and they tried to sell it to the government. Do you have that on there?
Nope.
Okay. Well, they tried to sell the Knesset to the to the government, and the government was in the middle of a purchase of this, and there was $20 million involved in that purchase, and one guy ran off with 18 million. They recovered 2 million, and the other 18 million was never found, or the guy that ran off with it. So the Greeks still own it.
Interesting. And so this bridge, he also said that I'm not sure the significance of this because I've forgot the details otherwise, but there's 33 cables on both sides of this on this bridge. This is the bridge that you see when you go out when you're leaving Jerusalem, and which is equals 66, and which is the number of the books of the Bible. And so there were other details, like I said, that we can't recall, but it was fascinating. And it's a pretty cool thing.
Something to do with the number of chapters in Isaiah, too, that was correlating with this whole story that he was telling us. It was the end of the day, and I wanted to take notes, and I didn't.
Right, we should have just recorded them. You know what? Facebook Live. That's what we do all the time. But see the star?
Yeah.
The Jewish star in the bridge and the things, the cables. Pretty cool. So we drove back to Tel Aviv that night, and which took a couple of hours. I think we should mention here that Tammy and I are not getting enough sleep. But we are laughing a lot, so
A lot of joy.
Also to say, just to say that at the beginning of every day we had a team study, kind of a team meeting with Diane and Scott, and at the end of each day we would have a sort of a debrief situation. They said, how's your heart? A lot. Heart check, yeah. How's your heart? Because you want to make sure that there's nothing festering. Something happened during the day or whatever, and you don't want that to go on to the next day, because that can ruin a team. It can ruin the whole time. So it's pretty smart of them, I would say. And so we also talked about the highlights of each day, and what stood out, and what did we learn, what did we hear from the Lord, and things like that. April 29th was Friday. On this day, Tammy and I started out again and having our time with the Lord at the Mediterranean. I know, it's such a hard life.
Yeah.
We got some coffee on the way over there. I finally figured out I don't have to order Americano. I only ordered Americano because I thought, well, it has the word American in it, and it must be okay. It must be something like normal for what but it wasn't. It was like, why are you I was thinking, coffee, you just pour it into a cup. They're like doing all this machine stuff to it. I'm like, what is happening? What is Americano? I don't know. But anyways, so I finally figured out on Friday, I think it was Friday, that they would give me regular coffee. Thank God. That Americano was like really, really nasty. Because I had to like use half a cup of sugar to drink it. If you know me, you know the sugar is a thing for me. Okay, so we were a little later on this day, so life at the beach was in full swing, and I was struck by the fact that even though there was activity and noise and movement all around me, I was still able to pray and worship Jesus in a very private way in a public view. So that was cool, and so I was thinking maybe this is what it means to sing and make melody in your heart to the Lord. It certainly was a beautiful time for me to do that. So today this day, on Friday, April 29th, we went down to downtown Tel Aviv, which the whole place is downtown, but there's stores. So we went down to the place where there are stores and to pray for God's peace and reconciliation with his people and just to bless them. So we bought 14 long-stemmed happy flowers from a local florist, not a forest, a florist, and proceeded to hand them out one at a time as we felt the Lord leading us. It was remarkable that almost everyone we approached was not smiling. But as soon as we gave them the flower, they were beaming. After a short time, we stopped at the corner cafe. These are everywhere, and at no time did we ever see the city of Tel Aviv not bustling with activity. We met up with a newer believer named Nir, N-I-R, and his dog Coochie. So that's them. There are a ton of dogs. Speaking of dogs, there's a ton of dogs in Tel Aviv. So much so, you can go ahead and flip. So much so that that's a gigantic schnauzer. I don't know what that is. There are water dishes like every block, just for the dogs, because there are so many of them. Yeah, that's not something bad. It's a dog water dish. It looks like something bad, but it's not. Okay, so let's see. Here's a picture of one of the flowers, our flowers in the tree. This was the site of a deadly shooting only a week and a half prior to our arrival. We prayed there for peace and that people would know the Prince of Peace, Jesus. Also, just a side note, we didn't fold our hands, close our eyes, and bow our heads when we prayed in the city. We simply spoke to the Lord while looking at each other. It was a different way to pray, but definitely appropriate. It reminds me of what we read about Jesus in the gospel. He lifted his eyes to heaven and said, Father, you know? So Jesus prayed with his eyes open, looking up. It's okay. A few highlights were when Tammy asked a mom if she could give her little girl a flower. One of my few regrets, I have only a few regrets from this trip, was that I didn't get a picture of the smile on the face of that little girl. She waved the flower around like it was the greatest gift she'd ever received. And it matched her outfit, I think. Right? Yeah. Shortly after that, Tammy saw a lady who was working very hard in an open laundromat. So I grabbed a flower and proceeded to give it to her. And trying not to be awkward. Like, the whole thing is awkward. At first, her face was perplexed. And when I gave her the flower, I said something like, I would like to bless you with this flower. She said, why? I'm like, exactly. No, I didn't say that. I said that God sees you and loves you. That brought a huge smile to her face, and then she proceeded to hug me, which you know I love.
That's why we sent a niece with the flower for that.
A complete stranger in Tel Aviv. So yeah, I didn't say, oh, we're gonna hug. I didn't do my normal awkward thing. So if you know me, you know that that's really something that somebody would hug me. So the thing is, prior to that, I was really struggling with witnessing like this. It's like making a cold call in sales, but different in that we weren't trying to sell anybody anything, and most of the time people were very receptive and engaging. And I think Tammy's going to talk about one person who wasn't happy to receive a flower and flat out refused it. But is that in your? Okay, so Tammy's going to give a whole thing at the end here. So a whole short thing at the end. So Diane handed a flower to a city worker. I was thinking, well, that's not going to work for two reasons. He's a guy, number one, and he's working.
Yeah, I didn't know where to put it.
I'm like, what? I was dead wrong. There's a picture of him. When we passed him by later, he had put the flower in his vest and just kept on working.
Oh.
That'll teach me to judge by appearance.
Yeah.
So since we were in the city, Tammy was looking for a tattoo place to take a picture in front of, to send to one of her sons, who was a tattoo artist. So we found a place, and Tammy, Diane, and Scott were able to have a great conversation with the owner and a few people who were outside. A couple of pictures of that exchange. And here we are at the park, at the fountain. Tons of people everywhere. Lockdown must have killed them, almost. Hang on a second to go back. Because they're so social. These people are, every day they were out and about. Tons of people. Just living life. I liked Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did. I liked it. Did you like it?
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, definitely felt alive. Yes, I mean
Right?
it was just.
It's just
It's like you could feel. I don't know. You could just feel the beat in that city. Yeah.
they just definitely were active. And so here we are at the end of our time with Nir and Coochie. And as we walked back to the apartment, we gave our remaining flowers away, all but one, which we kept as a blessing from God to us. That was pretty cool. So that night, Friday, we took some pictures from the roof of the apartment building. Like all these very, very close together, these buildings and stuff. And so, anyways, there was some more pictures after. That other one was just like, I don't remember when that was. But
This one here?
yeah, I know we were on the beach, but
Yeah.
I don't remember when it was. Just throw it in there. So some more city pictures from the roof, which is pretty cool. Look at that.
Yeah, really pretty. Wow.
And then we decided we were gonna worship God up on the roof, but decided to worship God instead outside on the balcony, and just singing over the city, not for anyone but God. And then I think He was changing the atmosphere as we worshipped Him. We did a Facebook Live and my phone died, but it's okay. So now I don't have a picture of this. So I'm like, go back to the other thing just like for a second. So I don't have a picture of this, but like I said before, Tammy and I weren't getting a lot of sleep. But what I haven't said is that quite often, since we slept in the same room, we would laugh uncontrollably for no reason. Many times. It wasn't just like once or twice. It was like, it's just always just... I think it was delirium,
Yeah.
right? Like a lack of sleep and just like brain damage or something. But it was fun. It was good. I think we you know what? Why do we have to be so dignified all the time? So I don't even know why right now we were laughing, but even though we were both experiencing health issues, we were full of joy. And this happened mostly right before sleep, but not always. And not just with Tammy and me. There were times that the four of us would just laugh and laugh. Like the time we were trying to draft a letter to share with the church on that Sunday. We were driving up to the top of the Golan Heights and trying to figure out what to say to Cornerstone. So, and I'm smiling as I write this because I wasn't feeling the suggestions. They're all telling me what to write. And I'm like, I don't feel that one. I just kept repeating the line, greetings from Israel. So yeah, just greetings from Israel. That's all we could get. And for like a long time. And I was trying to be serious because we were 8 hours ahead, but we were at the point where we were like an hour till service here. And so finally Diane said, just write, we're a mess, see you later. And that got us laughing for another 10 minutes. Fun times. So April 30th was Saturday, that is Shabbat. So being in the land of the Bible, the fourth commandment is much more observed in Israel than in America. So I'm assuming that the people in Tel Aviv observe the Sabbath differently than they do in Jerusalem. In fact, one guy from Jerusalem called Tel Aviv Sin City. There are a lot of young people in Tel Aviv for sure, and that may have something to do with how they are perceived. Whatever the case, Jesus made it clear that the Sabbath was made for people and not people for the Sabbath. You can save lives or heal the sick or be a blessing or just enjoy life on the Sabbath. And there's no law against love. It's just that God knew we could become obsessed with working for profit and wear ourselves out. We need physical rest each week, and to focus on Him while we do it is the point. Jesus said, come to me and I'll give you rest for your soul. All that to say, we took it easy on this day. Diane and Scott went for a jog, and Tammy and I stayed at the apartment and got caught up on our journaling or updates or writing. And then we went to Shabbat service at the prayer tower at 4 o'clock. The songs and the message were in Hebrew, but the words were in English on the screen, and the leader had an interpreter. And so this was a Messianic Christian service. So we were among family, worshiping Jesus, Yeshua, with Jewish believers in Israel was definitely a highlight for me. And that's a picture there. You notice the female worship leader back there. Yay. So
She had a beautiful voice. She did.
Yep. Yeah, but we couldn't understand a word she was saying. We could read it, but we couldn't understand it. And so when we arrived home a couple hours later, we packed our bags for 2 nights in Galilee. And now we're going to Galilee. Oh, here we are. This is the Leonardo Plaza Hotel in Galilee. And here are some things in the gift shop. Yeah, really cool stuff. It was never open while we were there. We wanted to buy, but we couldn't get in. Look at that, the Ark of the Covenant, those guys carrying it. All right, so and here are some shots from our room overlooking the Sea of Galilee at night. So we didn't know, we were just so excited. And a chocolate bar that was in our room. There it is. There it is. This had to be the most surprising place to me, Galilee, not the chocolate bar. First of all, the hotel was magnificent, and just let's go back to the. Yeah, there you go. The hotel was amazing. It really was. I was like, "What? Are we in a dream right now?" Because it was so. Wasn't it amazing? It was like, I mean, how much did this thing cost? It was so the accommodations were already made, right, for us, and we felt like we need to pay for this somehow.
Right.
And
We were very spoiled.
yeah, it was it was truly amazing, and but it was a surprising place. It was like just to be able to see the Sea of Galilee beneath us was almost too much. We were over the top blessed by this place. May 1st, Sunday, our first day in Galilee, and so we say wow, wow, wow. Sunrise. Yep, it was cloudy, so we didn't get to see the sunrise. Plus, I think maybe we slept in a little bit, so the people's got to see. Jim, there you are. So go back, go back to the peoples, so the Jim can see himself. You were looking over the Sea of Galilee, as well as Lisa and Judy and Sherry. Anybody else who's here? I don't remember who else is here. And so. Let's see. Yeah, we spent our quiet time overlooking. Just go ahead and go one. Just looking at that quiet time on the balcony. Amazing, truly. This is just thinking about the fact that he walked on the water. Jesus calmed the storm. He almost broke a net with all the fish that he took in. This lake was used as a backdrop for his Sermon on the Mount. That way, he preached from over on the sea. The Sea of Galilee. He told Peter to put in his line and catch take up the first fish that he caught, right? And he would find the temple tax. He would find the tax in that fish's mouth for both Peter and Jesus. Amazing. That water right there, where that fish was, it almost makes you want to go fishing for coins. But so I officially love Galilee.
Did you go swimming?
We did not. We did not go swimming. I didn't see anybody swimming. Isn't that weird? We went all the way around the lake and we didn't see anybody swimming. Barely saw any boats. But
The Mediterranean we did, but not in the Sea of Galilee.
right, so yeah, the peoples the peoples got to see the sea. Let's see here. Just some perspective, this is not a sea. Go back. It's a lake. Its size is very close to Lake Ogibic, but it's much deeper. So Lake Ogibic is about 35 feet in its deepest spot, and the Galilee is on average 85 feet deep, and it can be as deep as 141 feet. And a little bigger around, too.
It's 33 miles of shoreline. Lake Ogibic is 35 miles of shoreline, so it's very comparable.
Yep, so the Sea of Galilee is known by other names, like the Sea of Tiberias, but, they can change the name, but you can't change that water. And I maintain that that the location of the water is probably the purest. This is why I like the water, I think, because it's the purest thing that people can't mess with it. It's the same water. Sometimes they will fence in a place and say this is where something happened, and you don't really know. You don't really know for sure. But the water is the water. It's always going to be the water. And so I really like the Sea of Galilee. So we went around to some of the towns around Galilee.
Brought some home.
Yeah, so we got some. Well, actually, Tammy had the presence of mind to put it in plastic bottles. I wanted nothing to do with gathering of these things, but when it came to transporting them, I was the one who did that, and also got in trouble with the people for my bag being too heavy, which we have
2 pounds, 2 bottles of water.
So we attribute that to the water. So, but anyway, we got the water.
She let
back.
us slide. We had God's favor.
Yeah, she said, just don't let it happen again. And I'm like, okay. So we got some water from the Jordan River, and we have some water from the Sea of Galilee. And so we're not selling that tonight. I'm not really sure how we would give that away, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. If you really, really, really want some water, let us know. And we'll figure it out there, okay? So then we went to the town that Jesus called home, Capernaum. And It's the town. It said the town of Jesus right there. After Jesus was rudely chased out of his hometown of Nazareth, see Luke 4:24 through 30. Jesus proceeded to make his home in Capernaum. Here he did a bunch of miracles, such as casting a demon out of a man in the synagogue, healing the centurion's servant, Matthew 8, the nobleman's son, Peter's mother-in-law, a paralytic, and more. Jesus did a bunch of things here. So we sat down by the Sea of Galilee in Capernaum and worshiped the Lord. Diane again. It's definitely a strange feeling to be in such a place. So we put our feet in the water. Keep going. There you go. I got my feet in the water. I mean, it's just water. To the people that live there, it's just water. Isn't it funny how we can get familiar with things?
Yeah.
Like when people come here to the UP, Debbie knows when I first came here, happy birthday, by the way. It's Debbie's birthday today. Yay! Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, Debbie, happy birthday to you. All right, so you have officially been sung to. Fast. But when I first came to the UP, I was like, this place is paradise. And I still feel that way. But Debbie was, when we were hanging out a lot, she's like, wow, I got to be reminded of I live in paradise.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can happen if we get familiar. This is what happened with Jesus. Even in Capernaum. They got familiar with him. And then they didn't believe him. And he cursed them. Because of all the miracles that he did there. And now you don't want to believe in me. Why? Because you know me. Because you're too familiar with me. And I think sometimes I know I have, gotten too familiar with God. Like he's some kind of not God. God is God. He's always going to be God. And no matter how close I get to him, he's still going to be God. And he is awesome and he deserves honor and belief. He deserves faith. Always. So we were bringing the presence of Jesus to every place where we, so where am I at? Yeah, so worshiping God at the Sea of Galilee, so then we proceeded to go through the ruins of Capernaum. Here are the ruins of synagogue, right there. That Jesus probably taught in. He taught in the synagogues, definitely. We came to a newer synagogue, and this is where I felt like I personally needed to worship Jesus. And there were tours going in and out, but we were off to the side. As you can see, there's no roof and only a couple of walls, but there was a lot of religion in this place, and so I just thought, wow, this is cool to just be free, just to worship God in this place. And Capernaum welcomed Jesus at first, but in the end, they wouldn't believe in him, like I said, and they were included in the rebuke, along with Chorazin, Bethsaida, and Tyre and Sidon in Luke 10. Here's a picture of a subtle call to pay attention to the humble and the destitute. And because when we do it for the least of these, we do it unto Jesus. You see the nail prints in his feet? We could miss that. I missed it. Tammy was the one who pointed it out. This is a display kind of outside of the gates of Capernaum. You just walk right by, if you're not paying attention. And so, because we stayed so long in Capernaum, my fault, but thanking God for Diane and Scott's ability to pivot, Robin's word, the mount where Jesus gave his sermon was closed. They closed the mountain. So most of these places are on every tour, so there are hours of operation. So no worries. We walked down to the hillside of that same mountain and sat down amidst the wind and the flowers and read the Beatitudes. This is where Tammy picked up some dirt. Again, she was very good at doing this. Which we have some little baggies. This is dirt. This is not something else. Dirt.
Some Israel real estate there.
Yeah.
Because she's a real estate agent.
Right.
And that's why she was so good at doing that. This is also a leaf from the Garden of Gethsemane, right? Yeah, that's what it says, but I don't know if I'll label it right. Okay, and so we got some dirt there. Let's see. Yep, read the Beatitudes. We determined that dirt is only as valuable as the one who walked on it, right? Which also means that every human being is valuable because God made us from the dirt, and that every single believer in Jesus is overflowing with value because he lives in us. We're standing on holy ground, but Christians, we are holy ground. Everywhere we go is holy ground because he lives in us. That's an awesome thought, if you think about it. After spending time there, we went on to the Golan Heights. The ride up to this place was beautiful, and as I said before, we laughed a lot trying to figure out what to say to Cornerstone on that Sunday morning. We made it to the top, and the scenery was breathtaking, as you can see. We were on a peace, Shalom journey, so we prayed for peace in every place. I sang the blessing everywhere, too, and especially on the Golan Heights, where you can see Israel's enemies on one side. Well, you know, in the end, they're going to be surrounded. But also, see that there's a graphic of a map. We're going to get to it, but anyways, we worshipped up there, and then sang the blessing over that whole area. Yeah, that's the thing where the Golan Heights is, all the way at the top of Israel. Israel is so small. It's such a small country. And yet, that's where Jesus went. For the whole planet. He went there.
So,
not even the Golan Heights.
And where we were on this Mount of Golan, right across there was another mountain you saw in some of those pictures. That was actually a active military base right over there. Right across from where we were.
Yep.
Worshiping and praying. Yeah.
Let's see. We were bringing the presence of Jesus to every place. And where Jesus is, there's freedom and peace and a bunch of other great things. So next we made our way to the ruins of Bethsaida. They were included in that curse. And they were included in the rebuke and consequent curse from Jesus. It's been destroyed multiple times, Bethsaida, including the most recent, where even the tourist renovation is in disrepair. I may have been the only one who noticed that, but there's garbage and stuff. And the roof of one of the places, they spent a lot of money on this place to renovate it, to bring it to tourist, status. And the top had been blown off of the thing. There was garbage, and so Jesus cursed it because of their lack of faith in light of the miracles that he did there. Again, you know what? We have to be reminded that we have to remember that if God's done stuff, we have to shout it from the rooftops. Are your hands still good? Roger, can you still sing? Really? Dude, Jesus healed him the other day. And your hands.
Yeah, I couldn't close them.
You couldn't close them, and are they in pain anymore?
They're just
A little bit?
sore, but not, I can close them.
Right? We got to pray for each other. And when we do, we need to just say, hey, what's different here? Jesus does miracles still, right? We believe that. And so when he does the miracles, we need to believe him for more. How dare we see the miracles happen and then just go away and not believe him? That's what they did, and that's not a good thing. So we were the only people there that day in Bethsaida. It was an eerie feeling to walk on a road that was so old. That's the road right there, back one. That's actually a real road. So from there we went on to the Jordan River. Yeah, and like I said, I don't know what it is about water, but again, it was surreal to stand in this place. We sang Happy Birthday to Judy. We made a video. See her there?
Yeah.
Yep. Stick Judy. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
There I am setting up the people for a photo shoot, so that you guys can be in the sand of the bank of the Jordan, because that's important.
And you can't get that on a tour.
And we didn't come to Israel to sleep. It's going to come later. So obviously this is not the place where they crossed. Probably, I don't know. Maybe it was. We were joking about it. They told us this was the Jordan River, and it wasn't even. But we don't know. So anyways, the children of Israel crossed the Jordan. Jesus and many others were baptized in the Jordan. So that itself makes it amazing. And there we were singing happy birthday to Judy, standing in the Jordan. My peoples were set up to take a picture. There's my mom. She wanted to go to Israel so bad. Okay, after that, we were on to the place where the demoniac was purported to have lived. As we're going to hang on 1 second, hang on. So we were, it's Mark chapter 5, and this was one of the places that I desperately wanted to see. I love the story of the guy who had a legion of demons and who was delivered by Jesus with a word. Jesus delivered him, saved him, and sent him out to tell of the great things that Jesus had done for him. He went and preached to 10 cities, Decapolis. And so, unfortunately, the tourist place was shut down for the day. I was so bummed. We could see the caves beyond the wall that surrounded the area. Nope. So I got an idea. I would climb that wall, weave my way through the weeds and brush, and get a closer picture of the caves that I imagined him living in. I said my thought out loud, and Scott said, "I give you permission." To which I said, "I accept your permission, and I ask you, if I go to jail, will you bail me out?" He said he would. So with his help, I scaled the wall and proceeded to be amazed at what I was seeing. I wasn't up there.
While I kept thinking, Israel is not where I want to be in jail.
And so I hadn't been up there too long when I heard Diane saying that she wanted to come up too. So here she is climbing the wall and laughing hysterically. We took some pictures of the cave from our better vantage point. There's some, so I guess those are caves. I don't know, the guy, I don't know how these things work. That's what he was doing while we were up there looking at that.
And I was watching for the cops.
She was the lookout. So we took an incriminating picture, and we took an incriminating selfie, and proceeded to come down. I got down pretty easily, but here's Diane telling Scott to let her go. She's got it.
In white pants.
Keep going, there's more. She's sitting on his head. He's like, on my head. Laughing uncontrollably. You can't get that on a tour, okay? Well, you'd be in jail, actually. You'd be like, no, we're kicking you out. And that's us outside of the thumbs up. Okay, so we were starting to get hangry. And you know how that goes. You don't want to get hangry, man, on a tour in Israel, a journey in Israel. So we went to this very small place right on the Galilee. They had 4 different kinds of fish on the menu. Each of us got a different kind. I didn't get Denise fish. I got salmon. I got salmon everywhere. It comes from Norway, I think, right? Salmon comes from Norway.
It doesn't come from the Sea of Galilee.
It does not, or the Mediterranean. So there was even a cat present at our meal.
That's good.
Yeah, salmon. There's the kitty.
You got to eat fish too.
Pictures of the food and of my people. My mom. That's beautiful. It was so nice. The weather was perfect. My mom thought so too. Hang on a second, we'll go back. So the food was spectacular. The view was beautiful, and our last night in Galilee was unforgettable. I so love Galilee. And some night shots on the way out. Yeah, I just like to stay on that one because that's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
The water's green.
So across there where the lights are, that's where we were staying.
Yep, so Jesus came from over there to this place to see the Gadarene guy. Like so, the next day we would go to Magdala, the hometown of Mary Magdalene. And so May 2nd, Monday, we saw an amazing sunrise over the Sea of Galilee. Ate breakfast and then headed to Magdala. Yep, there it is. So this was also a place I wanted to see. It's an amazing story. In 2006, a Catholic priest from Mexico bought this land to build a hotel and a restaurant, not to make money, but to have, he called it pilgrims, to be able to stop there and stay and eat. And in Israel, before anything can be built, there must be a signature from the authority of antiquities. It was a formality until they discovered an artifact. They excavated some of the town and the synagogue that has been dated to the time of Jesus, when the Second Temple was still standing in Jerusalem. The hotel was built and opened in 2014. To this day, and this is what I read afterwards, They believe they have only uncovered 10% of the town. I mean, wow. There's a mosaic inside of the synagogue. Yep. So here, let's see. Yeah. So yeah, it's an amazing sight that only proves further that what was written in the Bible is true. And from there, we had another moment of you can't get that on a tour. They've uncovered an area where the wealthy people lived in Magdala. They know that because they had baths in this area. And when they removed the dirt, they found that the water was still flowing from the mountain across the street, which wasn't a street, and it filled these baths. It filled them. Actually, they have to pump it out because it runs so much. We're talking about a desert, right? And this kind of a place where they... So, here are Diane, Tammy, and myself putting our feet in one of the baths. And there's more pictures of us doing this. There you go. That's the one that would put us in jail. For sure. We're sitting inside of the ruins. Okay, anyways.
We're hopping a fence once again.
So to speak. There was a wall that we had to climb over.
We had faith that we had favor, so.
Faith and favor. Because if you have faith, you're going to have favor. Yep, so those are baths. And you can't get that. Wow. You can't get that on a tour. The hotel is built in a kind of a horseshoe pattern, and so as you make your way through the courtyard from the hotel, you come to the Magdala Center. And there's a chapel in the bottom of the building that has a first century floor. And there's a giant oil painting of what is called the Encounter. And this depicts the hand of the woman with the issue of blood touching the hem of Jesus' garment to be healed. It's really amazing. It's big. You can do another one. I think we have another. Look at that close up. Can you just feel that? I mean, it's like, is that the bomb picture? How many people think that's the bomb picture?
Yeah.
Right? Because you just stare at that for hours. It's beautiful. So the floor is first century. And then they just built the building around it. And then they painted the other stuff. So, we sat there for a few minutes to contemplate, what Jesus has done for us and how awesome He is. So also in Magdala Center, there are pillars honoring some of the women in the Bible, plus 4 rooms containing very large mosaics that depict certain New Testament accounts. And you want to say about
That's all mosaic, yeah.
about the lady? So they asked a guy to do the mosaics.
Yeah, and he said, actually, my wife is really, really good at that. So it was his wife that made all these mosaic sceneries here. And how appropriate, because this whole building is about women, and God honoring the women that followed Him.
It was a sweet surprise, I'll tell you. Now from there we walked to the shore of the Sea of Galilee once again and talked about what we had seen. And we put our feet in the water one more time before leaving for Tel Aviv.
So that was almost swimming.
I'll go back to this. We're trying to get, Tammy's probably trying to get dirt.
Yeah.
I think I was picking up some seashells there
I'm
around.
the estate agent. I was just looking for fish. I don't know. That was a sad thing because that's last time we would be in Galilee, so we're heading out. And I love Galilee officially. So a couple hours later, we were back in Tel Aviv, and we had to get a COVID test to get back into America. Okay, go back to this is us after we finally found a place. Okay, they're over it. Okay, except for the airport when you come into town. But they don't have facilities to get COVID tests anymore, and America requires it. And so you can't have it more than 24 hours before you fly. You have to have it within that time frame. And so we were coming up the next day we were leaving. We needed to get this test, and it was very difficult. We finally got favor with just a paramedic guy who turned out to be the one who does these tests.
And it was about 7 o'clock at night.
It was terrible. It was very, very stressful. This is my negative test. Yay! I was so happy. But that was because I had a cold earlier in the week. That was one of my health problems, and I'm like, oh no, just please don't misunderstand this. And so so that was thankfully both tests. We both, because if either one of us had a positive test, we weren't leaving. So that would have been a bad thing. So they were both negative. I was super happy about that. And so our last site to visit was Jaffa, which was not too far from Tel Aviv. Jaffa is the same port where Jonah hopped on a ship going in the opposite direction of Nineveh. So this is the port where he got on a boat, went the opposite direction of what God told him to go. And so here are some of the sites in Jaffa. It's also a bustling city in a different kind of way than, certainly not as contemporary as Tel Aviv, but it's more bustling than, I don't know, Galilee. I don't know, it's different, it's old, you know. So after eating at the Old Man and the Sea restaurant, there's a bag from there, takeaway. I guess that was probably what they did when they had the lockdown. So yeah, it was. We had a lot of. Did you see the food? Did we see the food yet? Really? Some of the sights from Jaffa.
I didn't see that rooster.
There's a rooster, a cat, and a bird, all eating pieces of bread. I thought that was I framed that one. I'm like, yeah, I can see what's happening here. This has to be a picture. So, and people's, yep. So we didn't see any food pictures yet? Okay, well, we were just going through Jaffa. Oh, yeah, push play. Oh, you can't do that. You gotta use the mouse.
Yes,
That's the bomb. And it was really quiet too. There was no noise to that. There was music going around, but couldn't hear it. So yeah, he's gonna find us going through Jaffa. Diane at a blue door. Diane at a yellow door. There's the food. Okay, so they bring out all this stuff. Like I don't even know what it was. Like was there coleslaw in there?
Yeah, there was
what were we eating all the time?
avocado and beets and carrots and some coleslaw and so
Yeah, there you go. So you know what's going
some
on.
kind of a corn relish thing.
Yeah, so that's just the appetite.
That's just standard. Every table gets this.
Comes out first, and then this is our food. Okay, Denise fish, bottom left. Kind of looks like a D.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
She liked it just fine until she saw on the other side there were eyes staring at her.
Did I see the eyes? No, I didn't see the eyes. I wouldn't have eaten it. So hold that picture for a second. So what we have is what did you get? What is that, chicken?
Yeah, I went with chicken that day.
Wow. She was not taking a risk. I see that grouper?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Did I get another picture of that grouper? Look at that. Look at that picture. That's frameable. Look at the teeth on that guy. What? Who would eat that? I know I like grouper, but I don't like it that way.
Start at the tail.
Well, then we have one with
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Scott eating something there.
He's eating the tail.
Is that the tail of the fish? Because they only didn't get like any other fish.
Oh no, those are those little fish, and he's biting the head off. That's right. Yeah.
What other fish? What's that called? It's nasty, is what it's called. Does it smell? No. Okay, where are we at here? Yeah. So yeah, we. Oh yeah. It was amazing. This would be our last remaining moments in Israel as we would be flying out early Tuesday morning. Again, all along the beach. We walked home. We walked along the Mediterranean. So you see in the distance. Go back. See that's Tel Aviv. We're going toward there, I think.
Yeah. Beautiful cobblestone path the whole way.
And people exercising everywhere.
Yep.
Everywhere you look, they're just exercising. It's dark. It's late. They don't care. They just exercising.
Yep.
There were some people playing a drum. They were playing drums. Everybody had drums. Was it drums? I can't remember, but anyways, it was weird. Just so much life going on there. And so we walked along the beach, people playing music. On our way home, we stopped at the grocery store to get some snacks for our trip home. Since Scott is a shofar guy, I bought him this to remember us by. It's just a little trinket, but I thought it was really cool. Okay, so Tammy and I packed up our suitcases to be ready to go to the airport in the morning. And wow, what a week it's been in Israel. We got about 4 hours of sleep that night and decided to forego our time with the Lord. Big mistake. May 3rd, Tuesday, day of departure. All right, so we were supposed to leave at 8:30 a.m. for home, okay? That was when the plane took off. We got to the airport early, and even with being a couple hours early, we were not early enough for our international travel, so we missed our flight. We literally missed the flight. No plane for us. So we went to the baggage thing to check it in, and there was nobody there. So I finally figured it out. Oh, we missed them by 10 minutes. So, and this was our Royal Jordanian, okay? If I would suggest something, fly United or American. I wouldn't do Royal Jordanian again, only because it was super loud, like I said, the kids and stuff, and plus we don't need to go to Jordan. We don't need to go to Jordan for any reason. Oh, well, I mean, unless we want to ride a camel, which I do want to ride a camel someday, but you have to do that in Jordan. So we okay. So we missed our flight. Panic did set in briefly, and Royal Jordanian told us that no flight to the States until May 8th. This is May 3rd. We finally got a hold of Diane and Scott after much, it was like 2 hours, and we were trying to figure it out. And between us and Diane, we decided we did find a flight that left at 11:30 that night, and so we weren't gonna. It was good because we were able to keep our COVID test that was still current, and because we got it late the day before, it was still 24 hours. That was good. A lot of good things happened in the midst of this awful situation. But we got one for on United for 11:30 p.m. I think we were both shell shocked, and we were gonna just like stay at the airport. We're not leaving, okay? We're gonna stay there. It was like 10 in the morning. We're gonna stay here until 11:30 p.m. because we're not gonna miss another flight. But Diane, she talked us out of it. We booked the flight while we were at the airport for this 11:30, and so we took a taxi back to their house. We it was hard, wasn't it? It was hard to leave the airport because we didn't want to miss it again. And we're both responsible people, how did this happen? But yeah, there it was, and we were.
Yeah, they were on the phone telling us you should be 3 to 4 hours early.
Yeah. So I was much more affected by this traumatic experience than I realized. And so when we got back to the apartment, Diane and Scott, they just went back to bed after we left. That's why they didn't answer their phone for 2 hours or an hour or whatever it was. It was hard.
Figured we were on our way.
Yeah, I mean, they're gone, so yay. We even took a picture when we got to the airport, I think, and sent it to them, and they're like, oh, yay. Then went to bed, so, but we got to the apartment, and they had an appointment to do. They asked us if we wanted to go with them. Nope. Not leaving, not doing anything. We're just going to stay here. And plus, we needed to do this new flight. We had to do this whole COVID thing. We had to prove that we were negative and all this stuff. It took a minute. And so we did that while they were gone. And like I said, I was more affected by this than I realized. And I'm like, you know what? We got to worship God. We got to do what we didn't do earlier because this isn't going to get any better. And so we just worshiped God. I could barely sing because it was just, a time with the Lord. It turned out to be one of the sweetest times, and you would agree?
I agree, totally.
Yeah. It was totally real and raw and just whatever.
It was just so apparent that
God's
that's
presence.
just where He wanted us right at that moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we stayed, even though we missed our plane in a foreign country. We did stay relatively calm at the time. She said it could be protection, and I'm like, thank you. That helps me immensely. It could be God orchestrating something for us to do, and so we yielded and we thanked and praised God because and Tammy said this, doesn't He say that He works all things out for the good for those who love Him? And it was an emotional hour, but it's just what we needed, some personal time with Jesus, and we got our heads and our hearts in the right place and back into our peace, which we were trying to hold on to the whole time because it's a Shalom journey after all. So, which God provides peace like no one else can. And it was a sweet time with our Lord. So after that, everything was going our way. Diane and Scott came back. We played 2 games of Uno, which I never win, but I won that day. Both games. Everything's going my way at this point. Sweet victory, Diane. You watching? Diane is even more competitive than Robin, if you can believe that. Does anybody know about Robin?
Yeah.
She is here, isn't she? She's hiding in the back. Yep, Robin knows. She's competitive, but Diane has her beat on that. She's even more competitive. And so when I beat Diane, it was sweet victory. So then they're like, hey, let's go eat. And I'm like, how far is it? And I was still a little bit. I was okay though. After we spent time with the Lord, I was better. But they gave me a birthday gift, and I ordered salmon again from Norway, and it was a great meal, actually a great meal. And really, we needed to eat before we took off on this because the food is wow, not a wow in a very good way, just wow. The food on the plane.
Yeah, don't depend on plane food.
I didn't even know what it was, half of it. It was like, I looked at it, and then I pushed it on over to Tammy. I said, you want this? And then she tried to eat it. She's like a trooper. Me, I just starved. I'm fasting.
I got a little bit down.
It was like, I don't even know what that is. I don't know. And then, so anyways, it's good to eat before you get on a plane, but the United flight, 100% better. And so we got back into we called a taxi, to get back to the airport 3 hours early this time. The cab driver initiated the conversation. All right, the whole time, Tammy and I are like, oh, can you just talk? Can you just say something to the people? It's hard to, do the cold call witnessing. And so we were just like asking the Lord, can you please just help us, to get into these conversations? Because we just can't do it. And we tried. And the flowers helped, okay? So if we, we're going to do some things like that around here. And if anyone's willing, you can go with us. We're gonna hand flowers out, because you can't go wrong with that. And sometimes it opens up a conversation. Sometimes people are just like, you know what? No one's been kind to me all day, and that just helps me a lot, There's no law against love. So we're going to do that. And so the flowers help us to witness. So this guy, we get in the cab, and he's like talkative Tom. He goes, so let me tell you about myself. I'm like, thank you. Thank you, Jesus. This is like a match made in heaven right now. And so we're in his cab, and he's just talking. And this was a divine appointment. We needed this, to end our trip, as opposed to just getting on that Royal Jordanian and not getting any sleep for the next 12 hours. But so we got the driver was talking. His name was Alon. And I remember that because it sounds like Alan, but it's Alon. So he was born and raised in Israel his whole life, lived in Israel his whole life, but told about his dream to move to America. He wants to, he loves Israel, but he says it's complicated and a hard life. He knew, we knew what he meant, but have no idea what it's like for them. So we talked about Jesus and how he changed his lives, and so the taxi driver's listening to us, and he said he was told by a rabbi to pray, pray, pray. So he had been praying and said it was making a big difference. He said, though, that you have to work 12 hours or more, 6 days a week to get ahead because the cost of living is so high. Tel Aviv apparently is the most expensive place to live in the world. Apparently. Right?
So a dozen eggs was 63 shekels, which is about $20 in American money.
Yeah, it was, yeah. But American money is worth more, so it helped, even though. So I said, this is what Tammy wrote. So Denise asked if we could bless him with a song, and he agreed. Imagine my panic. What? I have to sing to the taxi driver?
No guitar, we're just singing a cappella. Here we go.
Because I left the guitar there. I left the guitar there as a gift for somebody. We don't know who, but guitar. And thank you to Roger for his part in that. And so Tammy said that she saw him recorded on his phone. So I gave him a CD, and we blessed him with a generous American dollar tip so that he can have some American money when he gets to Texas. What a day. And then, so we arrived at the airport, good enough time. It wasn't a great amount of time. Oh yeah, we stopped because they had the,
that's the remembrance. No, this is not the Holocaust. It's a remembrance of all the people who have died in wars in Israel.
Yep. So they have a siren and everybody stops, and then people getting out of their cars and stuff, standing, just kind of
Moment of silence. Listening.
And so we're on the way to the airport. I'm like, oh no, please, what's happening? Are we gonna go show?
Stop. We're gonna be late again.
What? Look at all this traffic. Oh no. I held my peace. We sang the song. It was good. So we arrived at the airport at the time we were flying. This time we're flying United, but for some reason when we got our boarding passes, our seats weren't together. Okay, so a 12-hour flight, not sitting together. We wanted to sit together, but maybe we figured maybe the Lord had other plans. At this point, we just want to get home, okay? So we talked to Diana and Scott, let them know that we were indeed at our gate. We made it, and we're just about to go on. And the next thing you know, we looked online, and our seats had been changed. They were together. I still had the wrong seat on my boarding pass, though. And as we were going into the tunnel, to get on the plane, I heard my name twice. Denise, you have a new seat. A lady grabbed the pass out of my hand and gave me another one. Tammy and I were indeed able to sit together and with an empty seat to boot. And so we had a whole row. Right? We couldn't be sitting there, we were able to walk around, and when we wanted to, we had 3 seats.
We watched The Chosen.
Wonderful. Yep. Yeah. So anyone seen The Chosen?
Yeah.
Isn't that a great series or what?
Yes.
So they're working on on the 3rd season, and but that's very accurate. Now that I've been to Israel and I watched that too, amazing, truly. So we won't bore you with the change of planes in New Jersey and Chicago. Suffice it to say, that was a trip because we had a guy. He got an attitude with us, right? We had very little time to get to our... I'm going to bore you anyway. We had very little time to get to our connecting flight. We had a stop in New Jersey and then Newark. And we were going home to, going to Chicago.
So at every airport, we had to get our baggage back from baggage claim and then recheck it and go back through security again.
And be in huge lines.
And then find our gate.
Lines. It's like, it was crazy. And so then this guy, because she got all this real estate, they're checking for bombs in her bag. And so I'm like, I didn't realize that's what they were doing. I'm like, can we get that thing over there? So
he didn't like my bag of sand.
Oh, you know what? God is good. He went like this to me. It was like a child. Anyways, so then I didn't realize what was going on. And so he's like, from that point, slow motion. This guy. could not have gone any slower. We had 2 minutes, basically. 2 minutes to get to our gate, which was within sight, but we didn't know it was our gate there. And they were already boarding by the time we got there. Like, we almost missed another flight. It was hard. So anyway, yeah, we got through it, though. You know, we endured that guy. He had to check some other bag first. And he's like, first I have to check this bag. Then I'll check your bag. It was
You
rough.
didn't even give me my shoes. I was standing there barefoot. Yeah.
She's like, can I have my shoes? No, we have to put it all through the machine again. Oh, okay. Oh, Lord, help me.
They were flip-flops. You could see anything.
That's what you call attitude. And that's what you call trial of the century for us. We did make our plane, so that would praise the living God. We were so happy to make that plane. This was called the Shalom journey, and boy, were we tested at every I don't even know the word. At every turn, we were tested to steal our faith and to give it away or to trample it or whatever. But we held on and we gave peace. But the challenge was to keep ours and not panic. And so what I can say is that God is faithful. He brought us through it, and He'll bring you through too. So Tammy's got some reflections. We're going to do some questions and answers. We're almost done here. That's it for the pictures.
Yeah, does anybody have some questions?
Oh yeah, those are people on the plane, the United plane. So happy to be there.
Oh, that's on yours.
You got more? Or no? Yeah, there we go. Just leave it there.
Okay. Shalom. Nobody's got questions out there? Nobody had?
Or are you going to do your thing?
Well, I just, because Denise wrote all that out of the journaling that we did, both her and I felt like I needed to contribute something. So I just a short thing that I call God kisses, because people have asked us both if we feel closer to God in Israel. And I don't really know the answer to that, mainly because at home, in the rat race of work and responsibilities, I struggle to have my private time with God every day. I work hard at setting that time aside, but you have to work at it. And some days I even fail to accomplish this. So while we were in Israel, I certainly did feel closer to God, but I think it's because the purpose for our trip and the fact that our focus was on Him the whole time, not on work, not on responsibilities of home or family responsibilities. I can honestly say that I got God kisses no matter where I'm at. After all, God is everywhere, right? But perhaps they were just more evident there, or I was more aware of them while we were there. I thought I would take a minute and just tell you about some of those God kisses. So the day we walked around to Tel Aviv praying in the streets, I was also on a mission to find a tattoo place so I could take a picture for my son, who has a tattoo business in Minneapolis. So I leaned on this doorway of Urban Body Tattoos and had my photo taken. There was no one inside and a couple of people sitting on a bench outside, and we asked if they were the owners, and they were. So I proceeded to tell them that my son owns a tattoo business in Minneapolis, Wisconsin. And lo and behold, this particular tattoo owner was from Madison, Wisconsin. And he knew of Minneapolis, Wisconsin, and his girlfriend was from Enol, Wisconsin, where my daughter's going to school in Appleton. So it was just like, so all these thousands of people and places that we could have gone, and God led us here to close the gap on the distance between His people. I just felt like that was a God kiss. He just felt a little more at home. Scott and Diane are going to be revisiting that place in the near future. Diane also stopped in at a rock and roll place too, that she's heavy metal they sell, and she's going back there. She's going after them. She's so brave. I admire her courage. So another thing, when coming down the Mount of Olives, we were hot and thirsty and stopped at the juice stand. Oh, Denise took out her guitar and worshiped there, and she told us that story. And so the fellow that asked us to dinner, and so this is the story about the necklace. I'll just cut it short because you know all about them going to have dinner there and me staying back. So when I got this necklace, they brought this home, and it's got the menorah, and it's got the Star of David, and it's got a Christian fish. And I have a Christian fish tattoo on my foot because, I was being scratch paper for my son while he was practicing, and I thought that was a good tattoo to get. But it also is inlaid with opal stone, and opal is my grandmother's birthstone. My grandmother's been gone for about a year. She died at 99 and a half years old. She was a very big inspiration in my life. And I always loved opals, but she said, you really shouldn't buy them for yourself. They should be gifted to you. So it's like, this was gifted to me. And it just meant so much. It felt like, all right, you got grandma there, you got the Christian fish there. It's like, I couldn't have picked out a more perfect piece. So I felt like that was a God kiss. Let's see. I'm going to skip the one about worshiping at the tomb, because we already told that story, and the couple that was the young family that came and met us there, they intentionally met us there at the right time so they could worship with us, and she sang the whole song in Portuguese to my right here, and I was bawling and she was bawling, and I had a hand her Kleenex, and it was just the most beautiful thing. Definitely a God kiss. So then the day we went to Galilee and Capernaum, we also stopped at Magdala, the site that was recently unburied. The hotel was built there. We talked about that. So the part where we put our feet in the water, again, I felt like that was a God kiss. I mean, to just sit there with your feet in the water, where these people that walked with Jesus did that same thing. I just was like, wow, this is just over the top, just over the top. And then the taxi cab driver, of course, I felt like that was a huge, huge God kiss, because all our taxi cab drivers were terrible drivers. you got whiplash, and they were ornery, and they didn't talk, and they wore masks, and they got mad if you didn't wear a mask. Well, some of them did. One of them did. So when we got this taxi cab driver for a ride back to the airport, it was like, wow, this is amazing. Yes, we got the right one. Go figure. So, the fact that we had him and we got to witness to him. Yeah. Like I said, I don't blame them taxi cab drivers for being like they are, because you do nothing but beeping all the time. I mean, so this guy was just super, super nice. Let's see. And then Tuesday morning when we missed our plane, Denise also talked about this. So see, I don't want to get mundane and repeat. But yes, we were definitely in different rows. I was in 48 and she was in 49. And it's like, well, 15 hours without even being able to talk to each other, that's going to be kind of tough to take. But you know what? We are yielding. We are, whatever God wants, okay, fine, we'll do it. Maybe there's somebody that we're going to sit next to that he really needs us to talk to. But then I'm looking at my phone as we're getting closer to the airport. I'm like, oh my gosh, my phone says we're in the same row. And just all of a sudden, none of us did this. So I wasn't trusting it, because we didn't manually do that. So then when she got called at the airport, hey, Denise, we got a new ticket for you. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a big God kiss. For sure. So, yeah. And I think the last one, I just want to say, and this was when we were walking through Tel Aviv and giving out flowers. And most people were very receptive and were smiling, hugging, or whatever. And one lady that I tried to give one to, and we just kind of let the Holy Spirit lead. I mean, you're passing so many people, but you just get a feeling. One will catch your eye, and you just know that's the one that needs a flower. That's the one that needs a flower. So this lady was walking toward me, and I thought, yep, she needs a flower. So I tried to give her one, and she looked at me and said, nope. And I'm like, okay, fine, shrugged my shoulders and walked away, no big deal. And then all of a sudden, I just got this heaviness and this, it's like the word rejection just kept going through my mind, and it's like the Holy Spirit was allowing me to feel the grief of Jesus' rejection. And I was a puddle. I started crying. Just because thinking about how Jesus must feel when people tell him no. because He wants us all to experience salvation. But so I think He wanted me to learn that lesson, that it is written, they rejected me, they'll reject you too. So it's just something to expect if you're going to follow Him. That was a tender God kiss. That's it.
Good job. All right, do you guys have any questions? Did you write anything down? Okay, good.
Did the taxi cab driver speak English?
Yes, very, very good English. And that was hard because the language barrier was very, very hard. You know. And when they did speak English, if they could, it was hard to understand. Yeah. Communication really matters. Yes.
This is kind of a weird question, but when I followed you on Facebook with your videos, it was always super windy. So was it windy everywhere you went?
Yeah, kind of like here.
Well, no,
It's very windy here.
Yeah, it's just really, you can hardly hear what you were saying.
Well, the mountain.
Right. Yeah, we went to a lot of high spots, and on those high spots.
Well, even the water though. Like there's usually wind around the water. The Mediterranean wasn't that windy, but the Galilee was. Lots of wind.
Yeah, the Galilee wasn't on the side where we were staying. Then when we went across to the other side, it was really windy. So again, you know, like Lake Ogibic, depends on where the wind's coming from.
Any more questions? Anybody? Anybody? Yes.
Did you, I didn't know if you were praying and you dealt with any Ukrainian Jewish refugees while you were there? Or did you,
That was talked about, but we didn't.
are they coming, do you know what the status is?
Never saw any of them.
Okay.
Never heard about them. Never saw them. Yep. Yes.
The place where Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, where was that at?
Jordan. The Jordan River.
Can anybody go in that water?
Yeah, we did. We got some here, but we don't know, where exactly he got. But it is water. It's the Jordan River right there. Yeah. So you seem like you want some of that. So we'll give you some of that. Sea of Galilee, Jordan River. We got it. We got it all up here. Thanks to Tammy and it was the mule for it, but whatever. It's okay. I do what I have to do.
One more question.
Yes.
Did you pick up any rocks? Is there rocks there that you picked up any rocks from that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Little
did have
lady.
some rocks from different shorelines, and I don't think I didn't bring them with me. I should have.
I do have these.
And I also had rocks from the wall. When we did the walk around the wall, I was
yeah.
picking some of those rocks up.
That would have
Just-
been good.
Because the old city wall was something to have, I thought. Some kind of real estate to have.
Absolutely. It's so expensive. Yeah, this one, we got some rocks from the Jordan. I can give you these. A couple of them. It's very valuable. It's like people live there and it's like, it doesn't matter. But to us, we don't live there and it's holy. So, yeah, we have, in this, we have, thanks to Tammy totally, we have rocks from the Jordan. That was mine, though. Sand from the Mediterranean. Beatitudes, dirt. Water from the Sea of Galilee. And water from the Jordan River. And a leaf from the Garden of Gethsemane. All right there. I think I might just keep all that because that's something you can save. But there's some like 3, 6, 9. Well, there's 6 waters of the river, and then 6 of the sea.
Yeah, that was funny because I don't know how big these containers are, but I only had one bottle, and I was pouring mine.
And there's still some left.
in my vials, and it's like.
It's multiplying.
I didn't think there was going to be enough for both of us, and it was like multiplying. I kept pouring it, and it's like not going down. I'm like, okay.
That's why it was 2 pounds. I mean, it really wasn't.
Well, there was plenty for her, and still some left.
And
So
there's
it's
still
like
some left. Yep.
amazing. Out of
Truly.
2 16-ounce bottles. I mean, these look like they're a couple ounces. I mean, yeah, it's kind of funny.
So I guess what we want to land on is that, we don't know why we were chosen to go on this trip, okay? But we were, and we did. So it wasn't like I said, it wasn't a vacation. It would have been easier, like Robin said, it would have been easier to stay home. And anytime God calls us to do something, it will be easier to not go. Be easier to do something different. And stay familiar and whatever. But he's constantly talking to us. And whether we're here or there or anywhere else, our relationship with God has to be first. It has to be first and foremost so that we can hear from him. And that's the thing that I really, I don't know, that the thing was solidified for me. I guess I already knew it, but so like even just the day one when I got home, this is what I wrote, and I will land on this, and we'll play a song, and just a song that we did when we were, coming back to where we needed to be. But so I wrote, this is my first day home. Thank you, Jesus. You've taken me halfway around the world to show me something special. Maybe I went to Israel for no other reason than just for you to share some of your personal things with me, to show me where you grew up and your home, Capernaum in Galilee, the place you came back to in your ministry years. You showed me where some of your friends lived and some of the places that you did miracles. You showed me your favorite lake, Galilee, where you walked on the water, calmed the storm, where you were sleeping in a boat, exhausted, probably from spending all night in prayer, perhaps. We didn't sleep a whole lot on this trip either. You were so tired that you didn't even feel the storm or feel the panic and the chaos of those around you. But when they finally asked for your help, even as they questioned your love for them, when they said, "Don't you care that we're perishing?" you couldn't believe your ears. Such doubt must have hurt your heart. You calmed the storm anyway. Over the years, I've judged the disciples so much for this lack of faith in you. Like he's right there, physically in your boat. How could you possibly doubt him? And there I was, in your country, Israel, in the airport. You're closer to me than you were to them, because you literally dwell in my body. In that trial, everything we tried to do was met with resistance, which actually turned out to be a good thing. We couldn't buy another ticket. Our credit cards wouldn't work. And if they had, we would have been out another $1,000. In our state of mind, we were not making good quality decisions. So I'm sorry, Lord. Our worst day turned out to be the unexpected, unplanned best day. You can't get that on a tour kind of day. You brought us to it to bring us through it so that we can learn that no matter where we are in the world, we can't afford to miss our time with you. Because the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, and our decisions reflect that weakness if we don't get the strength, faith, wisdom, and grace that is deposited by the account holder into our spiritual account every day. Only you can make deposits into our account. You brought us there to share with us a bigger picture, but without making us feel so small that we couldn't fathom being able to contribute to your kingdom work. You showed us that names are important and that we should always get someone's name and remember it, use it. And if we know what it means, to share it with the person, because every single solitary human being wants to feel like they are seen and significant and useful and that we're making a difference. Help me, Lord, to give out the flowers today. The bouquet that you've given me today. May I hand them out freely to those who need them. They are your gifts meant for your creation. I don't do anything to earn them or affect them. And whenever we've done a good job sharing these gifts, sometimes you give us the last one to enjoy. Each day we're given a bunch of flowers. Lord, help me to give them out today, no matter where I am in the world. But first, time with you, so I can receive them to give to others. When they come directly from your hand, they are anointed and blessed and handpicked to bring joy and love to those who might feel invisible, and to let them know that their God, their Maker, sees them, knows them, and loves them. You brought me halfway across the world to show me that people, all people, have your heart. That regardless of what we've done with you or to you, you are still reaching out with an everlasting love, and you're willing to calm the storm if we would just ask and believe. So, that would be that. And thank you guys for coming. Thank you for your patience. And We're going to do this one song, and this is the song that we did when we came to our senses. Why don't you talk a little bit while we get this together?
What do you want me to say?
I don't know.
We need to have you eat more pizza, please. Is anybody?
But not while we're singing the song.
Yep. It's okay. That's a good place for it. For now.
Yeah,
Anyway.
thank you guys for coming, because if you didn't, this would be not good. Not good at all.
Yeah, Denise. Let's give a hand for Denise. She put a lot of time into this information.
Thanks, Tammy.
She does an awesome job at everything she does. This film. She put all those pictures together. I sent her some.
Denise, I got one question.
Yes, ma'am.
One more. When you went into the tomb where Jesus was, what did it look like? What did it look like? Was it
Well,
dark?
we had that picture. Did you see the picture? You didn't?
Let's find it.
Find it. Yeah, pretty much know our trip now.
Does anybody feel like they've been there now?
Did this debrief do anything for you? Was it a blessing, or you still don't have any idea about Israel?
Are you even more excited to go now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, right?
Awesome.
How many people want to go to Israel?
Everybody now.
With a flying, well, take United. It's very nice.
So you don't like to fly? Is it fear? God's got that. Yeah. You know, people ask me that. They ask me, "Are you afraid? Are you afraid to go?" You know, I mean, there's a lot of turmoil going on over there. And I'm like, well, there always has been.
Yeah,
Always probably will be.
I don't right here.
But you know, God gave me a couple of kisses before I even left, and He let me know that for sure I was to be on this trip. So I mean,
Awesome.
once I got that,
There it is.
That's
never was there any fear of anything from that point on.
So they obviously put those metal bars in there.
Yeah.
They want.
Yeah, they
Right.
didn't want you to. So this place you're looking at right now, that's the section where they prepared the body for the other half where it's barred off. Where it's barred off is actually where he laid, and I guess that's so holy.
Yeah.
They don't want anybody there.
You should.
So, yeah.
Old things have passed away. Your love has stayed the same. Your constant grace remains the cornerstone. The things that we thought were dead are breathing in life again. You cause your sun to shine on darkest nights. And for all that you've done, we will pour out our love. This will be our anthem song. Jesus, we love you. Oh, how we love you. You are the one our hearts adore. The hopeless have found their hope. The orphans now have a home. All that was lost has found its place in you. This is where it was impossible to live. You lift our weary head, and you make us strong. Instead, you took these rags and made us beautiful. And for all that you've done, we will pour out our love. This will be our anthem song. Jesus, we love you. Jesus, we love you. Hallelujah, Jesus. Oh, how we love you. You are the one our hearts adore. Our hearts adore. Our hearts adore. Our hearts adore. Our affection, our devotion poured out on the feet of Jesus. Our affection, our devotion poured out on the feet of Jesus. Our affection, our devotion poured out on the feet of Jesus. Our affection, our devotion poured out on the feet of Jesus. We love you. Oh, how we love you. You are the one our hearts adore. Jesus, we love you. Oh, oh, how we love you. You are the one our hearts adore. Our hearts adore. Thank you, Jesus. Our hearts adore. Our hearts adore. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. 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 Be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. 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 His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May His presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you. He is with you in the morning, in the evening, when you're coming and you're going, when you're weeping and rejoicing. He is for you. He is for you. Amen. May His presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you. He is with you in the morning, in the evening, in your coming and your going, in your weeping and rejoicing. He is for you. 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 Amen. 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 We receive it, Lord. Make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn His face toward you and give you peace. We praise you, Jesus. We praise you, Jesus. You are so great and greatly to be praised. We thank you, Lord, for this evening. We thank you for this trip. We thank you for the peace. We thank you for the prayers that we've prayed and the people that have prayed for us, Lord. We thank you for those who supported us in prayer and finances. And Lord, I just thank you that you are blessing people everywhere. And it's our job to give that message. The good news that people can be saved and set free and have a relationship with you once again. Their Creator, our Creator. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. You have blessed us. Help us to be a blessing, Lord. All those gifts that you give to us every single day. That fresh manna, that fresh bread. Lord, help us to spend time with you every day and to receive that bouquet of flowers, Lord, to give away. And help us not to hold on to it. It doesn't last past the day. It's just for that one. And so, Lord, help us to look and be purposeful about finding the people that need those gifts, those flowers, Lord. And I pray, Father, that you would give us the gift of evangelism, because like Abigail said, it's all about the gospel. People need to be saved. Miracles are great. They're supposed to lead people to you so that they can see that you're awesome, so that they can say yes to you for eternity. So, Lord, we praise you. We thank you. We do pray for Abigail and the team there in Jerusalem. And, Lord, that you would bless that ministry and all the ministries in Jerusalem and in Israel, Lord, that many people will come to know you, Jesus, and find peace with their Creator. And find that you, Jesus, you, Yeshua, are the Messiah. We thank you, Lord. We give you all the glory, the honor, and the praise. Hallelujah to the King of the universe. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you guys so much. All right. Eat some pizza because we don't